Wilson Morales, BlackFilmAndTV.com. How's it going, folks?
Good. Thanks for talking with us.
Thanks.
Yes. So I know you've been talking about this movie for such a long time, and we don't know when this is going to come out. But the long journey of it all, and granted, when you make an animation film, it is a long journey. But the waiting period, what is the challenge now with this waiting period?
Yeah, actually, we haven't been talking about it because we've been waiting to talk about it until yesterday. So it's nice to be able to bring it out. It's been a weird journey. We've started it like 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and now in the last like 7 weeks of production, that's when COVID hit, and so we had to finish. Well, we more or less finished animation, didn't we, Dana, at the studio?
Yeah, we had finished. There was a lot of fixing happening, but yeah. And
lighting and effects and things like that. So, and of course, the audience has changed, or the not the audience, but the zeitgeist in the world is so different now. Funny enough, I feel like there are themes and elements of the film that speak directly to what's going on right now, which of course we didn't intend or plan for, but I hope when the film comes out will resonate with people.
Yeah, for me it's been excruciating waiting, I gotta say. We were supposed to come out in June. We were in the Cannes Film Festival, and the Cannes Film Festival got canceled. And I was just like, oh man, I had a special suit just for that.
Yeah.
Now, what went into telling this story of Soul and incorporating jazz into it? Because there's a lot that you can get out of it. Obviously, there's the animation, there's the storytelling, and then there's the music. To what went into which, and what was going to be the emphasis of the movie? Was it going to be the story or the music?
Well, the beginning of it was about who are we? What at our core are we? We're more than just an experience, a collection of experiences. So the way we usually talk about that is, what's our soul? Who is at the center of who we are? And then as we got into the music and so many other aspects of it, we realized, boy, that word has a lot of different facets to it. It's been a really intriguing and interesting project because of all of that, and the ability to talk about things like, who are we? What's our sort of purpose in life? And, how do various religious traditions as well as music talk about all that? All that folds into this, and it's so it's just, constantly. In fact, there's so much out there to talk about. A lot of the process was about closing doors and saying, okay, this is interesting, but maybe the next movie or whatever. We really have to kind of winnow in and focus here.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm always curious to see when there's an animated film, there's always more than one director. So for Dana and Kemp, can you talk about, what do you bring to the table in getting involved with this movie?
Well, Kemp, we knew we needed him on our team. As soon as we decided that Joe was going to be a Black musician, we were like, we need help. And we had read One Night in Miami and immediately fell in love with the characters he had developed in there. So bringing him on, I'm from the beginning, I'm a partner to Pete and Kemp in making sure creatively what the vision is ending up on the screen. We had a crew, I think at the height of like almost 350 people. And we had a year taken out of our schedule. So I'm kind of like putting all the pieces together.
Yeah. For me, it's, animation is a collaborative experience. You obviously have to know what you're doing. You have to have talent, but you also have to be really open to the spirit of collaboration. And, my experiences both in theater and writing for TV, I think really prepared me for this. But, I give a lot of credit to Pete and Dana when they saw the direction the film was taking, to realize that they needed to invite some new partners to help go on this journey. And, we got along, we worked really well together because I came on initially as a writer. But after a little while on as a writer, Pete came to me separately and said, like, really could use your help to like finish this movie and get you even more involved in every element of it. And I really was excited about that opportunity to kind of everything from, casting to being in dailies and in design and stuff like that, to really take on the challenge. Plus, like, who wouldn't relish an opportunity to get to co-direct a Pixar film. I mean, are you kidding me? Like that's it's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Now you've got a number of names behind the music. Can you talk about bringing on, obviously you got Trent to Herbie, you know, to a number of people in there. It's like, how did you go about in trying to bring in these different musicians along with this, so that with the film, there's a cohesiveness with the music that they're bringing along?
Yeah.
Anyway.
As we realized what was needed for the film, we would reach out to different people. You know, Terry Lynn Carrington came in to talk about like what's it like to be a woman band leader. You know, we talked with Herbie and a bunch of other folks about like what's it like starting out. You know, what is the life of a musician like? We had a bunch of lesser known but, you know, beautifully wonderful musicians that we met in New York that talked about what that's like, what the life of a musician is like, as well as what's a teacher, you know, what is the life of a middle school band leader, teacher rather. So it's, I mean, we're super lucky to be in the position we are, because usually when people hear, hey, somebody from Pixar wants to talk to you about stuff, they're like, oh, really? They kind of perk up. So, you know, we've had really wonderful collaboration with a lot of folks.
Now, when you know, obviously, you know, in some areas, their marketing is, oh, it's the first Pixar film with a Black lead. You know, and obviously that sells itself. But you know, what went to doing that all of a sudden, or was that even a process of thinking like, oh, let's finally make a movie with a Black lead, or is just a matter which came first?
It kind of evolved organically out of the story. As I say, the film started with investigating, where do we come from? What is at our essence, who we are, personality attributes and things like that? Well, it's something to do with the soul. All right, well, where would souls be given those things? Where do souls grow up and so on? And then eventually that evolved to having a main character who had lived already, was really rooting for something that he wanted to do, but didn't quite make it, and so wants to get back. And then as we figured and went through the list of like who or what would we root for, a jazz musician came to the top. And as soon as we arrived at that, we're like, well, there's no way we can do a character who plays Black improvisational music and not make him Black. You know, that seems like the right thing to do. But, you know, we're a bunch of people who don't have a lot of experience in the life of musicians or what it's like to be Black. And so we really reached out in a lot of different ways for help. But that's kind of how it organically grew.
You know, when you have a cast that includes Daveed Diggs and Jamie Foxx and Angela Bassett, you know, is there a thinking process as far as when the writing is concerned for those characters to maybe add more or less because of who they are, or you know, or was the characters were written first, and I believe the actors came in second. But once you have them on board, do you want to give them a little bit more to do?
Totally. Kemp, you want to take
that?
Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, if it were up to us, we would make a 3-hour movie. Just went down a deep dive into all these characters, but again, we're making we're making a family film, so there are, you know, it has to be clear and concise, and there are definitely a number of the characters I wish we could have spent a lot more time with. And you know, hey, who knows? I mean, one of the wonderful things about the current trajectory of Pixar and Disney Plus and opportunities for, you know, other stories in the world of Pixar films is that, you know, maybe some of these characters, you know, will be showing up, you know, again in the future in other mediums. And that was something that wasn't a possibility just a couple of years ago. But yeah, absolutely. This felt like just like a dream cast from top to bottom. And keep in mind, we haven't even announced the entire cast yet. There's still probably like a half a dozen pretty notable names in the film that you guys aren't even aware of just yet.
Well, before I let you go, and to make this interview a little bit special, you want to give me a name?
Wish we could, but then we'll get you.
We're being listened to.
Yeah.
But I want to give Angela Bassett a shout out, because I think that was one of the most amazing recording sessions I've ever been to. I think, Pete, I saw your jaw kind of dropped and you're like, I have no feedback. Like, that was amazing. Like, yeah. there was no directing that needed to be done. She's so phenomenal.
Great. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm sorry to say.
It's good talking to you guys. Take care. I'll be ready when this movie comes out.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.